how should we introduce our background in LogicTools?
There was sort of an official founding of LogicTools that happened in like 1995 or something like that. I think it's okay to talk about it this way. You know, there were like a collection of people that were sort of unofficial co-founders. It wasn't a company that got a lot of venture capital, it didn't get any venture capital. It was angel invested only by one person. And so it was a company that ran under a very low budget, had very, very low overhead for a number of years until it found some customer attraction, right? And so during those super low overhead years, the only employees that were working there were people that had a passion for that space and were willing to put up with a little bit of silliness in exchange for working on stuff. So my point being is there are a community of us that were unofficial co-founders of LogicTools. And that's me, you, Mike Watson, Adam Light, who didn't stay very long. I don't know if there's really anyone else I would put on that list. In the very early days, me and you were banging it out in the garage with Adam and Mike, and David and Edith would show up. It would very much had like a we're the co-founders feel that, you know, we didn't have an office. We had this house that was kind of ugly, but it was cheap. We had this ugly, cheap house that we'd meet in and have like, you know, very passionate arguments over like preparing the way for these clients that didn't yet exist. But we were super passionate about making sure that the clients, when they arrived, would have good experiences. Yeah. And so that was our background. And I think it was the perfect background for collaborating together going forward, because there's nothing quite the same as we don't have any clients yet, or we have barely any clients, but boy, we're really going to go at each other and vigorously disagree with how we're going to lay the foundations for these future clients. I mean, that's kind of the co-founder experience, and that's definitely what we did. And it kind of miraculously, it worked. We had clients that were then interacting with the very same things that we argued over. And in some cases, some of the arguments were pretty useful. And it was like, yeah, it was a good thing we figured that out, because, you know, now that the client's here, he's not stuck on that part, and that part's going smooth.
I think about something like the lanes form, you know, which was pretty complicated, but we sort of invented it, you know, around the whiteboard in the sort of converted garage part of the house on Alder, and it's kind of still in existence. You know, it's still obviously in LogicNet Plus, but I think in some ways it's broader than that. People think about it in those terms. And so, yeah, I think that's a great way to think about it. And for me, at least, you know, I didn't have any academic background in operations research. And so for me, it was an introduction to supply chain. That conceptual knowledge has served me well throughout my career. And so, you know, that I started in 98, you know, so here we are 23 years later, and it's been very useful knowledge, just understanding how supply chains work at a level that you can use for computational purposes.
LogicNet Plus users who like the lanes and carriers way of modeling will find something very, very similar with our tool, you know, the network design tool on Roundoff. It's not exactly the same, it's slightly different, but conceptually, it's exactly the same. It's organized in a slightly different way, so it's more compatible with Excel downloads, so that it's easier to recreate it completely offline in Excel if you want, because that's kind of our philosophy, is that whatever we build online, there should be an easy way to run it offline just from Excel or CSV data, so that all of our apps are portable.
Same floor plan, but remodeled with the objective of making it more flexible, more customizable, more extensible, right? Because in our experience, almost every company, user, group of users, they all want something just a little bit different because their company is just a little bit different. And the idiosyncrasies need to be part of the model at times. So we're just trying to be ahead of that by being easier to customize from the get-go.